pleasure to be here. Los Angeles. Like Silicon Valley. Can you hear me? Right into it. Do you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, that's good. So, I come from an area similar to you all, surrounded by Democrats. It's rough living in Silicon Valley. Los Angeles, the one thing in politics that I learned early on when I beat Cruz Bustamante 2 years ago. One thing I learned is that you can't win elections statewide in California without doing extremely well in Los Angeles County. You all are at the center of what it takes to win. So, it's a pleasure being here with other Republicans. I do come from an area that's, well, pretty hostile to Republicans, but you know, you have those challenges here. I mean, how many of you have done precinct walking? Yeah. I love precinct walking. I've done a lot of precinct walking. But I need to warn you, if you ever come up to Silicon Valley, beware. Precinct walking can be outright hostile to us Republicans. Here's my favorite precinct walking story. I know Matt Rexroth in the back, you've heard me say this before, but here's my favorite story. You'll appreciate this coming from this particular part of California. I was knocking on doors and precinct walking pretty hard in Palo Alto. Been to Palo Alto? It's the liberal capital of Silicon Valley, right next to Stanford. So the door opens, a 12-year-old girl answers the door. Now in precinct walking, it's a kind of numbers game, so I decided I'm going to go ahead and give my pitch to this girl. Maybe she'll pass it on to her parents. So I start my presentation about why I'm running. About the 5th word, she puts her hand out, stops me cold. She has this disgusted look on her face. And she points at me. She says, I know who you are. You're Steve Poizner, the capitalist. It was a bit like meeting Barbara Boxer as a child. Well, ladies and gentlemen, guilty as charged, absolutely. I believe in the free market system down to my bones, and that's why I'm running for governor. This state used to be the innovation capital of the world. It used to be the engine for huge wealth creation, for problem solving. Unfortunately, we're really struggling now, as you know. Now, the fact is, if you look at some of the data from the state of California, it's just really, really trouble. Now, we have a 12.2% unemployment rate officially, but if you add in all the people who just quit looking for a job, and if you add in all the people who have part-time jobs and full-time jobs, the unemployment rate is really closer to 20%. That's 4 million people in California that are suffering right now. That's depression-level unemployment. And then if you look at the size of our economy, how it's shrinking, it's no big surprise that we have high unemployment. We used to be the 6th largest economy in the world in 1999. Then in 2003, we fell to 7th. Last year, 8th in decline. I mean, this state, we are losing market share at a rapid clip. Now, of course, what's going on? Unfortunately, we have a tax and a regulatory system that's so oppressive, people are leaving. Now, how many of you are from the state of Nevada? Anybody here? Good. Let's talk about Nevada just for a second. The governor, Republican governor, he appoints a SWAT team to report directly to him. That SWAT team's got one mission, and that is to recruit people like you all to pick up and move from here to the state of Nevada. And they take out these ads. Maybe you've seen them. Here, the ads have a really simple message. And the ads say, if you do business in California, you're nuts. Come to Nevada where there's no corporate income tax, 0. Where there's no personal income tax, 0. Where the workers' compensation insurance rate's 30% less because of fewer mandates in California, and the electricity stays on. And lo and behold, people are picking up and leaving, moving. And the Census Bureau, they're the scorekeepers. The Census Bureau counts people as they leave. I don't know if you know this or not, 3,000 people a week, 3,000 Californians a week pick up and leave the state of California. Now, these are taxpayers. Now, our population continues to grow. It's kind of amazing that even with all this exodus, we still continue to grow in total population due to birth rates and illegal immigration. Now, it's the worst of all worlds. Consumers of government services coming in, taxpayers leaving, No wonder we can't balance the budget. Now, I'm running for governor to really completely overhaul and modernize our economy. I want to make California the innovation capital of the world again. Now, when I talk about innovation, sometimes people think I'm talking about where I'm from, Silicon Valley. Now, Silicon Valley is a great chapter in our history. There's a lot of great innovation going on there. But I'm not just talking about high tech. I'm talking about the fact that California has attracted people like you all and others for 150 years, innovators in all kinds of different categories. First it was the farmers, and coming down to Southern California, then the ranchers, then the miners, then it was aerospace, then it was the entertainment industry and the arts, and then it was defense contractors, then it was hardware, then software, then biotech, then nanotech, then internet, then wireless technology. One wave of innovators after another for 150 years. Now, that's just incredible. We, as a group of citizens, as a group of people, we've created more solutions for the world, more wealth than any other group of people ever in the history of mankind. It's just phenomenal. As a Californian, I gotta tell you, I'm just so proud to be a Californian. We're very special. People, culture, risk takers, innovators. Unfortunately, all that at risk now because we have a tax and a regulatory system that's just driving people out. So I have a plan. It's bold, it's comprehensive, and it'll make California attractive again. Because after all, who wouldn't want to live here? People want to come to California if we would simply get the government out of the way. So my plan, I call it the 10-10-10 plan for the sake of ease of remembering it. And it's got 3 parts to it. The first part of my 10-10-10 plan, the first 10 are 10% across the board tax cuts. Yes, you heard it right. I am the only candidate running that's talking about tax cuts, bold across the board tax cuts. Now, I was at the LA Times the other day. I know it's rough running for governor. How many of you read the LA Times? Very good. I'm glad you know. They were asking me, what? Cutting taxes? How can you afford to be advocating? How can this state afford to have tax cuts? How can you advocate a tax cut when we have a $20 billion budget deficit? And I told them, how can we afford not to? We have one of the highest sales taxes, the income taxes, and even license fees in the country. The governor and the legislature a year ago raised taxes by $25 billion, the largest tax increase in the history of tax increases. In my opinion, to do that in the middle of the deep recession, I told them, was one of the worst pieces of public policy in decades. We need to reduce taxes because when you reduce taxes, what's going to happen? People will come back. We'll have lower tax rates. We'll have higher tax revenue because we'll have a larger tax base. So I'm proposing 10% cuts in sales taxes, a 10% cut in personal income taxes, every bracket, a 10% cut in corporate taxes, and a 50% cut in capital gains taxes. You watch. Now, my second 10 of my 10-10-10 plan is 10% spending cuts. And the fact is, spending in Sacramento is just out of control. We've almost doubled the size of state government in the last 10 years or so. The number of state employees is just mushroomed. When Governor Schwarzenegger started, 300,000 state employees. Now, 350,000 state employees. That's just got to stop. So I have done a review of every line of the 1,200-page budget. I've gone over every dollar, and I've come up with $10 billion of spending cuts to help balance the budget. And let me give you an example. By the way, if you want details of all this, go to my website, stevepoizner.com. Lots of details there if you want the details in the white paper. So let me give you a highlight of what I mean by the opportunities to cut our budget. Welfare.